What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Monday, March 17th, 2025, and we are back with another live here on the Torian Rain Reloaded channel, and I'm also multi-streaming on Instagram as well, so shout out to those who are over on Instagram who are watching as well. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and if you are new to the channel, I'm glad that you are here. Hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. So y'all see the title. We're going to be talking about something rather heavy today. And I actually had to rearrange my live because I actually had another live that was going to happen today in place of this one. But when I saw this, I said, I got to put this one ahead of it because this story needs to be put out there. But before we get into all of that, let me acknowledge those who are here so far in the chat. We got Queen Imani, we got Miss Renee, Wallow J, Irving Green, Tamika's Den, Dark Titan, Miss Nisi Church, Jay the Informant, Gina, Loves Ya, Joseph Washington, Derek Parker, the Cynical One, News for Thought, and let's see, Lamiko, what's going on? And shout out to anybody who's over there watching on Instagram as well. So we're going to be talking about a story that's coming out of Georgia where it involved these twin boys by the names of Qaadir and Nazir Lewis. And let me just say this. When I first learned of this story, I said, if they really expect us to believe what they're saying happened to them actually happened, you must be thinking you're dealing with dumb individuals or those not working with a functioning brain. So in case y'all are unaware, these twin boys were getting ready to go on a trip to Boston, and they never made it to Boston. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they made it to the airport because something happened between wherever they left from and their transport to the airport. Because what ends up happening is their family finds out that they're missing, and that when they find out where they are, it turns out they're about 90 miles away from where the airport is, which is probably roughly around 2 hours, about an hour and a half drive. And they got found in this place called Bell Mountain, Georgia. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Even though I'm not from Georgia, I've never heard of a place called Bell Mountains. It's people down in Georgia who probably never heard of Bell's Mountain. And then they found their bodies right there on top of the mountain. And then they tried to declare it as a M word, S word. I hope y'all can understand what it is. I'm trying to, make sure I don't say the improper things, but y'all get what I'm saying. And I said, you know what? This is about as bad as when we find out stories about Black people who are hanging and they try to say that it's the S word. So you mean to tell me that one twin took out the other one and then he took himself out? That's what they really want us to sit up here and believe. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show y'all the news clip from this. Hold on, y'all. Let me go on and hear. Shout out to Nikki the God on Twitter because she has the news clip on her page. But I'm gonna read to y'all what she wrote. She said, lynching. The bodies of 19-year-old twins Qaadir and Nazir Lewis were found at the top of Bell Mountain after they missed a 7 a.m. flight to Boston. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and keep a pin in that GBI. I've always thought it was something shady about that GBI. Is treating their death as if it was an MS. The teens' family said they were not homicidal or, the other one. They did not know the Hiawassee area and had no reason to be there. The family also stated that the twins were nonviolent and didn't have any weapons. None of the details of this event are adding up, and the family is asking for a more extensive investigation. So now that I've read that, let's go into the news clip.
A mystery on Bell Mountain. The bodies of twin brothers found in Towns County near the North Carolina line, 90 miles from their home in Lawrenceville. The GBI initially investigating this as a murder-suicide, but tonight the family says they're not buying it.
And I'm glad the family isn't, because I'm not buying it. And I'm sure those who've heard this story and those in the chat, both on here and Instagram, who heard of this story aren't buying it either.
11 Alive's Cody Alcorn spoke with them just a few hours ago. He's live for us in our newsroom with more on this investigation and what the family has to say, Cody.
Well, Jennifer, the brothers Qaadir and Nazir Lewis were twins. The GBI says a hiker found their bodies at the top of Bell Mountain on Saturday morning. Both had been shot. The family couldn't believe it when they got the call hours later, knowing the twin brothers were supposed to be in Boston.
And that's another thing. Why would they, let's hypothetically say, and I'm not saying it is, that's why I say hypothetically. Why would you go 90 miles away to do that? That's something you could have did at home or at a much closer location. Why would you travel 90 miles, which is about a 2-hour drive to go and do that? And wait till y'all see when I pull up the demographics of Bell Mountain. And then you'll realize that really their thing of saying what it is doesn't make any sense.
Visiting friends.
We want answers. We want to know exactly what happened to the twins.
Nazir and Qaadir Lewis.
Those my nephews.
Just a few weeks shy of their 20th birthday.
I can get past it. They're gone.
The twins' uncle, Raheem Bronner.
They're very protective of each other. They love each other. They're like inseparable. So I couldn't imagine them hurting each other because I never even seen them get into a fist fight before.
The GBI saying their preliminary investigation points to the twins' death being a murder-suicide.
We knew right away that wasn't true.
Family said.
And the thing is, why would they initially say that it's that immediately? Like, that's like the immediate thing they ran and jumped straight into and said what it was. Like, y'all, it's like y'all made it seem like y'all didn't want to conduct no type of investigation. Y'all immediately said, oh, it was this. Whenever I hear them say something like that, I already look at it with a mean side eye. Like my red flag immediately waves, like it sticks up and it waves like a banner. Because even just hearing what I've heard so far, it makes absolutely no sense. And then they were getting ready to go to the airport to get on a plane. Let's not pretend like security check isn't a thing. I'm sure that if they had a weapon on them, it would have went off in that security check. Trust me, I know, because I used to work in an airport and I remember a few times where the security went off and we saw in the x-ray that someone had a firearm in there that they weren't supposed to have. And they had to call the person back from the gate. So that doesn't make any sense. And I don't even think, and people are asking, okay, if there was a weapon, quote unquote, was there a weapon recovered at the scene where their bodies were found at?
Says the twins had a 7 a.m. flight to Boston last Friday.
Right there, we never heard from them. They missed their flight. We don't know what happened.
24 hours later, The twins' body found 90 miles away.
How they end out in the mountains, they don't hike out there. They've never even been out there. They don't know nothing about Hiwassee, Georgia. They never even heard of Bell Mountains. So how did they end up right there?
I'm telling you, they need to find out who the Uber driver or the Lyft driver, whoever that was that they got in that car with, because that would have been the last person to have seen them alive. They need to find out whoever that was and track them down, because as far as I'm concerned, they are the prime suspect. Now, you just heard what the aunt said. They said they never even heard of Hiwassee, or they never even heard of Bell Mountains, let alone have been out there. So how would they know where to go? And why would they drive 2 hours if they're supposed to be going to Boston? Why would you drive 2 hours out there just to do that? Like I said, if you wanted to do that, you could have stayed local. You could have stayed close to home and did that.
A mystery this family is trying to solve.
They had a huge support system. Like, we know them that they wouldn't do anything like this. So to say that they did this to each other when they come from a family of love and they love each other, they always together, we don't believe that. They didn't do this to each other. Something happened in those mountains, and we want answers.
I did reach out to the GBI tonight. A spokesperson says the twins' autopsies is finished, but they're awaiting additional forensic testing to be finished, as well as the investigation portion.
I would get a private autopsy done. If I was the family, that's the GBI doing that. If I was the family, I would get a private autopsy done, because for them to come back and immediately say that it was what they claim it to be, I do not believe that. Not for 1 second that they did that to themselves. No, there's no way that they expect us to believe that crap.
Of this before they issue a final ruling on the brothers' causes of death.
Okay, so that's the news clip right there. And I wish I had more, but it's not a lot out there right now because it's still a developing story, because it happened on March 8th, but the story just broke like a couple days ago. So it's still a very fresh story that's coming out. But I wanted to point something out to y'all about the population of this Bell Mountain in place. I wanted to point something out to y'all right quick. It said, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Bell Mountain is located in Hiwassee, Georgia, and the town's population in 2020 was 981. So not even 1,000 people lived there. So this is the definition of a small rural town. Now, 2020 was only 5 years ago, but I highly doubt that the population in the town has changed drastically since then. And it says, here's a more detailed breakdown. Bell Mountain is situated near Hiwassee, a town in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The 2020 census recorded 981 people residing in Hiwassee. Now, here's the interesting part right here, which made me also raise some red flags. The racial makeup. The racial makeup of Hiwassee is 94.2% white, 0.4% Black American, 0.3% Native American, 0.4% Asian, 0% Pacific Islander, 1.7% from some other races, and 3% from 2 or more races. And it says Hispanic or Latino make up about 4% of the population. So this is an overwhelmingly white town. And if you look at Black people, not even 1% of people there are Black. And the same thing goes with all the other racial demographics, with the exception of 2 of them. So you mean to tell me these boys that were supposed to be going to Boston diverted themselves from that airport to drive 90 miles away to a location they've never even heard of in the middle of the night to go on top of a mountain in a city with only 981 people there as of 2020, where the town is overwhelmingly white, and just off themselves. Now, notice that in the news clip, they didn't mention anything about the recovery of a power tool of a gun. That's real suspicious. When I saw this, I said, yeah, it's something way more to this story. And they're trying to cover it up with whatever they claim it is so they can not do a proper and thorough investigation. All I'm going to say is this. Hopefully the family sticks to it, and I'm sure they are, and gets to the bottom of this, because it's no way you're going to sit there and tell me and insult my intelligence like this and say that my loved ones did this to themselves. It's no way. It is no possible way you expect me to believe this. Even with the little bit that we have right now, you can't tell me that these boys were not kidnapped. Somebody kidnapped them. They need to find out whose car they got in to take them to the airport, because they would be the last person to have seen them. This is why a lot of people, when people go to the airport, if they have to get dropped off or something like that, if it's possible, see if you can get a family member to take you, to drop you off. I know, because I had to do that with a couple of my family members, to take them to the airport, because they didn't, especially at that time of the morning, you just never know. You just never know what might happen. And who knows what was going on in that car ride on the way up there. Remember, it was 90 miles away. So them boys could have possibly been knocked out. Who knows? But like I said, the family needs to do a private autopsy. They need to do one. Do not go based off of whatever the GBI put out there, because they're clearly lying. In my honest opinion, they are lying. I refuse to believe that these boys, who their family says that they barely even got into a fist fight, like they were thick as thieves, I think what's messing me up about this is the fact that, and y'all already know, and I'm gonna say it, one of my biggest pet peeves is the insulting of my intelligence. I feel like my intelligence is being thoroughly insulted with whatever narrative they're trying to paint about the outcome of what happened to these boys. Good question, Dorothy. Where is their luggage? That is a good question. See, it's a lot of questions that we have that aren't being answered, and that's why they're trying to quickly shut this down before a lot of those kind of questions get asked. Again, one of the main ones is, where's the weapon that was allegedly used? They never mention where that's at. Yeah, brother man says no bag, no luggage. I think they did I think I did hear something about a wallet, but I can't remember exactly what it was. I think they did mention something about a wallet, but I think that's how they were able to identify them, was with the wallet. So like I was saying, the last person to see them alive was whoever was driving them, was supposed to take them to the airport. Unfortunately, the last people to see them, period, but before the report was made, when they said a hiker went up there and spotted their bodies on the top of the mountain. Again, this was early in the morning, so it was still dark outside, which means these boys was probably taking one of the first flights out, because they said it was a 7 a.m. flight, so that's like one of the early flights. Yes, Louise, thank you. You said their plane tickets were still in their wallets. Queen Imani says they were probably taken out at one location and probably placed in the mountains. That's a strong possibility. See, it's almost like we got to do our own little investigation, because they're not going to do it. Wow. But I'm going to try my best to stay on top of this, because this story really made me feel some type of way. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. When I first learned about this, I was literally shaking. It's very rare that a lot of stories will do that to me, especially since I talk about a lot of things. But this one literally had me shaking to the point where I almost felt like I was about to throw something, and I had to calm myself down, mainly because of how they were trying to spin this. And I had to go back and forth. I was like, okay, how do I talk about this? Is this going to be a pre-record? Is this going to be a short? Is it going to be a live? And like I said, for those who missed it when y'all first came in, I had a whole nother live plan for today and had to push things around just to talk about this today. But yeah, somebody down there knows something. They need to find whoever was the last people to see them alive. Because this just screams a kidnapping and a setup. And the scary part about it is they were just the unfortunate ones that they got, which also tells me that this could have happened to anybody. It's just that they were the unfortunate victims that happened to be the ones that they got. And they happen to be twins too, so they probably figure, oh, this is a 2-for-1 special. Doc Spencer said, what's the name of the town in the state? The name of the town is called Hiwassee, Georgia, but they were found on top of Bell Mountain. On the top of the mountain. The only mountain that I'm familiar with down in Georgia is Stone Mountain. So when I heard them say Bell Mountain, I'm like, what in the world is a Bell Mountain? I know now a population size of 981 as of 2020, a town that's 94.2% white and 0.4% black. But again, like their family said, they had no idea a place like this even existed. They said they would never go hiking there. Why go 90 miles away, which is like 2 hours, in the middle of the night, in the morning at that, when you're supposed to be getting ready to go to Boston? See, brother man, you're asking the right questions. Why would they be 90 miles away? Like, we're asking the right questions. That's why I said they're trying to shut it down so they don't have to do a thorough investigation behind this. But yeah, hopefully the family, gets a tackle on this, because there's no way you would sit up there and tell me my family member did this to their other family member and then the other one took themselves out. Queen Imani says, well, the bodies found. Yeah, they were found the same day. They were together. They were found next to each other. Oh, man. This is one of those stories, y'all. This is one of them ones where it's like you have no words about this. What I also would like is for this story to stay in the news for as long as possible. You know how like they're doing with Caleb Wilson and how that story is, constantly out there. And by the way, there has been an update that did come from the Caleb Wilson story too, but I'm not going to talk about it on here because that's a whole separate topic. But there has been another update to come from that. I want this story to stay out as much as it possibly can, and go beyond just Georgia as it being a local story. So, thank God for social media where it can actually, hopefully gain some traction and gain legs behind it. Black Voltron says cell phone tower ID data and credit debit card information is very easily tracked and available to law enforcement wise and being released. Good. That's what like I said, that I tell people not to trust that GBI. That GBI is very shady, and I've talked about them years ago, and I don't trust them. I don't trust them. Any organization that's going to immediately come out and say that it was this, and you looking at them like, really? I don't trust it. I don't believe it. But shout out to everybody that's in the chat, even either on Instagram or on YouTube. There's some people in the Instagram that's saying thanks for bringing attention to this story. I'm, no problem. Attention needed to be brought to this story, because this is one of the ones where I could tell they will bury this in the sand, like wet sand at that, to make sure that it can't be unearthed. I already know. Especially since they already painted the picture of what they wanted it to be anyway. But I'm glad that anybody who has a functioning brain and is aware of this story aren't falling for that. What's going on, Anita? You're gonna have to catch the playback. Man. But either way, though, RIP to those boys. Definitely condolences to their family. Like, that's not news that you want to hear or find out when it comes to your family or loved ones. Like, you don't, that's just something you don't want to hear about. And then it said they was about 2 weeks away from turning 20. Their birthday was getting ready to come up. They were 2 weeks away from their 20th birthday. So now that means when their birthday rolls around, their family is going to, instead of be celebrating, they're going to be grieving. Of course, they'll be able to celebrate their life, but it's not the same because they're not here in the physical realm to celebrate it. This is just nerve-wracking. Louis said, I can't even imagine how their mom feels. Yeah, I noticed too when they was interviewing the family, the mother wasn't there. And I can understand why that would be too much for her. So they interviewed their aunts and I think an uncle. They interviewed another immediate part of the family, which I can completely understand because she's probably so distraught right now. Instead of them planning their upcoming 20th birthday, whatever plans they had for them, they got to plan a funeral. And these were twin boys. These are two lives that were taken out in the same day. But like I said, hopefully the family, and I know the family's going to, I have no doubt in my mind, that they're going to go further into this with their investigation, because I don't trust the GBI. I just don't. Exactly, Queen Imani, a funeral, and then their birthday, man. And it's crazy because, speaking of Caleb Wilson, he was 20. These twin boys were about to turn 20. And both of them, and all three of them, lost their lives literally like within 2 weeks of each other. So it is what it is. But I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. I'm not dropping the link tonight because, this is one of those stories where it's like, not to sound offensive when I say this, but I don't want to really hear any outside comment, opinion about this, because it's a lot. When I go live again on Wednesday, I'll go back to my regular routine. But this is one of those things where I just can't, I can't hear anybody else's take on it. Of course, y'all going to say what y'all say in the chat, and y'all going to say what you say down in the comments, but it's just, man. I don't even have the energy to even want to do my regular outro or play the outro. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream, but y'all take it easy, and I'm going to talk to y'all in the next one.